Hello again, welcome to video number 6 that we are going to learn about the phpMyAdmin and web technologies. I am now in the blog lab 6. You can see here we are going to work on the phpMyAdmin and then what is actually a phpMyAdmin. In the previous videos what we did, we connect to our database via the shell mysql-u root-p, then we enter our password, and then we are going to use the use tmf2034db, and then we say show tables. We have everything, and then we access all our tables and database via the shell and XAMPP shell. But the phpMyAdmin, if you want to access the phpMyAdmin, you can simply, this is your MySQL, you just click on the admin, and automatically it will send you to your localhost phpMyAdmin, so which is located at localhost phpMyAdmin. And one thing here, as you see in my URL, the phpMyAdmin, the port mentioned 8080, because currently I am using two different web servers, so I have to define the port for each of them. So the default one is different, and then XAMPP is working on the port 8080. For your case, you don't have to define the port, you just put localhost phpMyAdmin, which will automatically open up the phpMyAdmin that we have. This is phpMyAdmin. This is a graphical user interface for us to access to our databases, to the tables, create database, edit the user. Everything that you do in the shell, you can do it in the phpMyAdmin. Right now, as you can see here, these are the list of databases that we have. You can click here on the databases, and you can see here we have a database TMF, or you can access the other databases that are currently in this machine. I just click on the databases that we work on it. You can see here these are the tables that we have: the course, enrollment, lecturer, and students. And then here the same thing: course, enrollment, lecturer, and students. And then now, for example, if you want to know the students, describe student, the structure of the table, a structure for the table students, we can go ahead and then here the table students, we select the table students, and then these, okay, we go to the table structure, because we have now, this is the table structure for the table students. We have a student ID, which is the primary key, and then the data type, and then it will not accept any null. The default you can change, you can drop, or you can, you can see here, you can add the foreign key, you can edit the column. And then here we have a student name, a student email, and intake here. The same case happening in here. And then now if you want to know, okay, the records, for example, now you click on the students. These are the records that already we have in our table. You can see here, select all from students, and these are the students, and these are the records. We have 6 records. The same thing, we have 6 records. When you click edit, you can just edit the table, like this record Ahmad, and then the email, and so on. You can just edit the data, the records. And here in the section SQL, here you can just directly write your query. For example, here we just write select all students where the intake year is, let's say, greater than 2016. Select all from students. I forgot to add the from students, and then it will show me all the students. We have only one 2016, and then the rest are, you can see here, 19, 18, 21, and 22. So these are, it will show you the records. Here you can do the same thing. You can say select all from students, let's say students where the intake year is greater than 2016. Then we just press go, and then you can see all the students that their intake year is greater than 2016. It will display all the records. And then you can also here is all the databases. You can go to the home. If you want to create a new database, you just type the database name that you want, for example the database, for example testdb or any database, and then you just click create. That will create a new database for you. After that you can create the tables. You select the database that you have, and then here you need to create a table. For example, you want to create a, for example, a test table, and then how many columns have your table? You can say 5 columns, and then you just press go. Then it will open up the column name. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and these are the columns that we defined, that we're going to have 5 columns. You can write the name of the column and the type of the column, the data types. You can have integer, you can have varchar, you can just select from the drop down list. This is the size of the size of the column. For example, you can define the data type, the size of the data type. You can define the default, like it should be null or not. You can define the attribute, and then the index. Is it the primary key? Is it the foreign key? You can do the same thing that everything we did in the previous videos. You can do it in the phpMyAdmin, which is a graphical user interface for your database and your web server. And then now again I will go back to the home. Here, if you want to have a user accounts, here you can access your user accounts. You see here we have a local host, and then we have local host. If you want to create a new user account, you just click add user account, and then here you just press, like for example, the username. What is the username? Which server that you want to access? The password, and then you retype your password. And here one thing is all the privilege that you need to assign to your user. If you want to give it a full privilege, you just check all. But if your user, you want to have only access to specific, for example, features, for example, this person can only access to the data, to this query, select, insert, update, delete and file, then you just click here. So just check which privilege you want to give, and then when you press go, the user will be created. We also have exports and import. These export and imports are very useful when you want to, for example, now if you click go, automatically right now I am in the TMF 2034DB. You can see here database. This is your home, this is your local host, and this is your TMF 2034DB. I am currently selected this DB, and then when I export and then go, it will take a backup, export all the tables that I have. The quick one, it always works, it will do, but if you want to have a custom one, you can select which tables you want, you can select what type of queries to display the comments and etc. But then the quick will always work, and then you just click press go, and then it will give you the new your database backup. And then in the import is here you already took your backup, and then you want to access or create a new database in the new machine, in your new computer, for example. What you do, you just create a database, a new database, and then you go to the import, and then just give the address of your, for example, like your machine, the file that you exported, and then the rest will be like you just click go, it will, all the tables will be imported. You can just play around with the settings of the phpMyAdmin, and then what you can do, everything the same thing you can do in the, you can access in the command, you can do it in the phpMyAdmin. Now we want to, for example, we want to access to our database TMF2034. In the next video we are going to access to this database via the PHP. But first thing, we need to understand how can we access to one, for example, how can we run the PHP in our machine. We already have XAMPP installed in our machine. What we can do, XAMPP always located, where did you install your XAMPP server? The default location of the XAMPP is C, and then it is in C XAMPP server, and then you go to the htdocs folder, and then in the htdocs folder you create another folder. You can assign any, for example, any folder name. but the location, it is the location that you install the XAMPP. If you install your XAMPP in the different drive, for example D drive or another folder, then you have to go to that folder and then htdocs and then the name will create a new folder. Like for me, it is already in the C, it is in my C XAMPP htdocs. Here I'm gonna create another folder. I will just call it a lab 6. Once you are in the lab 6, I will just create a text file. I'm just gonna call it index.php. This is index.php that in this one we are going to access in our web server, and then we can write PHP in here. Now I will just open in a notepad++, and then here you can write PHP, and then you can say echo welcome to PHP. Now how can we access to this file, and then how can we run it via in our XAMPP? We can go ahead to our browser, the same thing we did in here, the local host, and then for me it is 8080. For your case it should be just localhost and the name of the folder, which is lab 6. And then when you press it, you can see here we have welcome to PHP. If you want to learn more about the PHP, just feel free to go to W3 School here, and then you can go ahead to the PHP, and then how can you run the PHP. You can see here you can combine the PHP and HTML together. HTML is hypertext markup language. Everything is like the content of your page. It is like, for example, now this is a web page, and the contents that you can see here, they're all HTML, and the CSS is used to add the beauty to this page, to styling. For example, you assign the logo on the left, this button on the right. This has been done in the CSS, but the content, everything, it is in HTML. And PHP is used, you can see here, it's serve make your dynamic web pages. Why dynamic? Because let's say we have a database in here, we want to access to our database, and dynamically we want to show it in our table. It's a server-side scripting, and then it is an interface. It's a language that enable you to communicate with your back end and front end together. Now for example, now we have welcome to PHP. You can write HTML also in here. For example, now I will just define HTML. I will create HTML, or let me just copy some from here so we don't have to type again. Now you can see here I have the body HTML, also we have a head, and then we do have a, you can define the title of your page, and then we just say PHP any title, and then here you can see we can write also some H2, H3 directly. You can combine, you can add HTML and PHP together. This is heading 3. Now when you refresh, you can just, I can delete it or just leave it as it is. You can see here we have, this is heading 3, and then when you inspect the element, you can see here we have a HTML, we have the head, and then you can see here this is the title of the page. Here we decide the title, we wrote the title, we have the title, and then this is our welcome.php, which is this one, and then we have our h3 heading 3, which is in HTML, but we just echo the h3. So this is how can we write PHP, and then how can we run it in our machine. But in the next video, what we are going to do, we have this database TMF2034, this database, and we already have 4 tables, the course enrollment. But what we do in PHP, we are going to access this database TMF2034. We access the database, and then we display the records in our table. We display the records in our browser in the lab for example the same thing we did, but we are going to access it and dynamically we display everything. Alright, this is the end of the video. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.